more than just getting high. You've got a beautiful mind, a beautiful mind. It's more than just getting high. You've got a beautiful mind, a beautiful mind. We reconnect to 22. It feels good seeing you. I tell you what I'm going through. Now I can't live without you. So I sit and I wait on our great escape. Get high, make mistakes, find love just the same. Cause there's love, then there's hate.
Hello mates, I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my personal tips when it comes to building a patchwork sleeve. I finished one of my sleeves, my right sleeve, and I'm currently in the process of filling up my left sleeve at the moment. I'm maybe 10 hours of tattooing away from finishing my left sleeve. Both of my sleeves are made up of traditional tattoos. This is the style of tattoos that I really love, although you can make up a patchwork sleeve out of pretty much any style of tattoos. My wife's currently in the process of getting to illustrative style sleeves, and this works really great too, as does lots of other styles of tattoos. If you're not sure what I mean when I say patchwork sleeve, basically patchwork sleeves are a bunch of smaller tattoos that are almost like then collaged together with small spaces in between them. This is opposed to having your classic sleeve, which doesn't really have gaps in it and ties all the tattoos together to create this essentially one continuous flowing image. Now, why might you choose to get a patchwork sleeve as opposed to your classic sleeve? Well, the big reason for choosing a patchwork sleeve, and my personal reason for choosing to get one, is having the spaces in between the tattoo then allows you to really frame and highlight each individual piece that makes up the sleeve, as opposed to having them all sort of blur together. Now, let's get into my personal tips for getting a patchwork sleeve. Not completely sure what you want? My first tip is to seek out some inspiration. There is tons of tattoo inspiration out there. What things speak to you? What things really resonate with you? If a stranger were to look at your tattoos, what would you want them to take away from just looking at you? There's also a ton of ways to get inspiration online. Instagram is a really great place for tattoo inspiration. If you find a page that shares some work that you really love, whether that's an artist page, a tattoo studio's page, or a page that's just dedicated to showing some great examples of a particular style of tattoos, if you hit follow on that page, Instagram will then chuck you a bunch of suggestions of other pages which are posting similar content, and potentially an endless supply of tattoo inspiration. Now, to be clear, you don't want to be copying anyone else's tattoos, but it is perfectly okay if you see an image that you love and you want to get something similar. You can then send this image to your artist and ask them to draw up something custom that has a similar vibe. As well as Instagram, TikTok can be a really great place to look for tattoo inspiration, with many tattoo artists using this platform to share their work, to share their process, and give potential clients a general vibe of their artistry. Probably the most popular place that people will get inspiration from for their tattoos is Pinterest. You can find tons of ideas on Pinterest, and then you can organize them into boards and collections. Now, whilst it can be a great choice of platform for looking for ideas and inspiration, it isn't always the best, as you will often see very similar designs over and over again, and some of them don't necessarily make for good long-lasting tattoos. For example, a super detailed portrait of a lion that's like 5 centimeters big really isn't going to age that well at all. Tattoo ink spreads out under your skin over time, and if there isn't room inside the tattoo for it to spread out, everything's going to merge together and you end up with a blob. So this is something to keep in mind when looking for tattoo inspiration, especially when it comes to Pinterest. You need to trust your artist's opinion, and if they tell you that this idea that you've seen on Pinterest is not going to age that well, you should 100% take their advice. They're the professionals. There is also, believe it or not, ways to get tattoo inspiration that doesn't involve the internet. There's many great tattoo flashbooks out there and tattoo magazines that feature a ton of great work and can be a really great source of inspiration for your patchwork sleeve. Another great place for tattoo inspiration is directly from tattoo artists. If you find an artist that you totally fall in love with, you could always book in a consultation with them, let them know that you want to start putting together a patchwork sleeve, give them some of your ideas and see what they come back with. They can then let you know what pieces will fit each part of the sleeve the best, and then if you want them to, they can then also give you some suggestions of things that will fit with the vibe of your other ideas. Maybe they've got some flash drawn up that they really want to do that will fit with the other ideas that you've got. got. Tattoo artists are constantly helping their clients build sleeves, so they're really the best people to speak to when it comes to putting your sleeves together. Tip number 2 is going to be to choose a style and stick with it. If you really love black work tattoos, then stick with that. If you really love black and grey realism, then stick with that. If you love neo-traditional tattoos, then stick with that for the whole sleeve. This, I guess, comes down to being a bit of a preference thing, but work out what style of tattoo you want to get and then stick with that for the entire sleeve. This consistency really helps the sleeve to flow really nicely, so unless a chaotic looking sleeve is what you really want to go with, choose a style and stick with it. My third tip, once you have a good idea of what you're after, and this might sound like a fairly obvious one, but it's to start with the bigger tattoos first, because we can then fill the spaces in between them with smaller tattoos. Now, there's not necessarily one right way to do this. I personally just started getting tattooed on both arms, and then over months and years I started putting together lists for both arms of what ideas and pieces I thought would look good in the spaces that I had left. If you know that you really want to get a full-length tiger, for example, but you also want to get a compass somewhere as well, you should get the tiger first, because it's bigger and the compass can then be made to fit into one of the smaller spaces that you have left because it's a smaller tattoo. It's also perfectly fine to not really have much of a plan and to just start getting tattoos of things that you really love, and if it ends up turning into a sleeve, well, these things happen. At the end of the day, tattoos should be fun. Tattoos should bring you joy. Tattoos don't necessarily have to be this super serious thing, as long as you keep in mind that they are going to be there for life. It's just about deciding what you want and committing to it. My fourth tip is about where to actually start with your patchwork sleeve. Now, this is all a preference thing, and again, there's not really one right way to do this. This is what I wish I had done though when I was near the beginning of completing both of my patchwork sleeves, and that is choosing an area of the arm to focus on first. This is so you don't end up with one massive blank area next to one area which is heavily tattooed. I focused on doing the outside of my arm first, which after a while started to look pretty strange with the inside of my arm being so bare. What I wish I had done is focused on filling up either my whole bicep inside and out, or filling up my whole forearm inside and out, and then moving on to the other half of my arm afterwards. In my opinion, this helps to keep things looking consistent without having these huge areas of untattooed skin that you sometimes get when you've got a sleeve in progress. As I said though, that tip is more of a personal preference thing. And that is it. Those are my tips for building a patchwork tattoo sleeve. I would love to hear if any of you guys found this helpful, or if you have any other suggestions that I didn't mention, then let me know in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video, give it a like and hit the subscribe button and all that other YouTube bollocks. If you like the music that you're hearing in the background, it was actually all produced by me. I have another channel where I post beats / instrumentals that I've made for singers to write songs to, so if that is something you're interested in, I'll put a link in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.